Hey you guys, welcome back to Angel Angela. And on this topic, you guys, I just wanted to give you guys a quick message on how the narcissist wants you to go into their fantasy land, into their land of illusions. Narcissists come in all colors, they male, female. They're in this fantasy world. Yes, a lot of narcissists will be attractive. Some of the most beautiful people are some of the most evil type of people because they're living in a fantasy. They don't abide by the rules. They get away with breaking rules. People see them and they see an innocent woman. They see a pretty woman and they're deceived by that pretty woman who is evil, who is wicked, who's hateful, who talks down on others, who doesn't understand mental illness, who doesn't understand disabilities, who doesn't grieve over people worth grieving about, you know, who uses grief as a way to make themselves look good. I'm gonna go make me a t-shirt. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go to my ex-boyfriend's funeral, or I was the side chick. I'm gonna go show up at the funeral, and give a story about how this person and me were so in love with one another. They live in this big fantasy world of illusions, of fantasy. You know, the difference between narcissists who are on a higher level and a lower level, the only difference is how far they were able to get with living in that fantasy. This person got older. No one was going for their crap anymore. This person wasn't getting the attention that they wanted. Now they're doing drugs. Now they're getting drunk. Now they're getting all this attention. You're sitting here trying to calm them down. They're trying to jump out of a moving car. They're trying to grab your steering wheel and start trying to, make you swerve on the street. They're arguing with you. They're driving fast as hell, like they're ready to die because they're not getting the attention that they need. They're in traffic. They're angry. They're in such a bad mood. They're ready to get out the car and just go to your car, open the passenger seat, driver's seat, and knock you out. They don't have nothing to live for, and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse until they have to learn the lesson the hard way. A lot of times what you guys don't know about karma is that it's constantly hitting the narcissist because they don't want to snap out of that fantasy land. They don't want to snap out of that, illusion, because they live in this world where they're perfect and, they get to decide the rules. They get to tell you who you are. They get to make their own perception on who you are and run with it and try to force you to believe it. And if you love this person, it's a dangerous game because now guess what? If you believe the narcissist fantasy, now when they're making their assumptions about you and they're pointing the finger at you and they're bullying you and telling you who you are, you're going to believe it. And you're going to cry and they're going to laugh at you. You're dealing with a person living in a fantasy world and you're sitting there dying, losing yourself, losing your family, friends, everything that you know. And they're still living in this fantasy land that it's not that bad what they did to you. And even when they get to the point where they learn their lesson and they learn how to stand in line, they're not going to take accountability for what they did to you, or they're going to sweep it under the ground and just say, oh, I was like a kid. I didn't know no better. And they were older than you. They were 2-3 times older than you, saying they didn't know any better. They were like children. Oh, I was in a fantasy land. Oh, I couldn't snap out of it. My narcissism got to me. My drug use got to me. People around me didn't trust me anymore. People around me didn't see me as valuable anymore. No one wanted to help me. You know, I I not only used people, but I treated them really bad. You know, while I was in that fantasy world, I treated them really bad. Now I don't want to show my face. Now, if that person wants to get mad at me, I'm going to hit right below the belt. They're only going to hit right below the belt when things are going bad for them. When things are going good for them, they're going to apologize to you. They're going to make amends. They're going to go to church. They're going to act like a changed person. Hey, they might even go to church and start judging other people, calling them drug addicts and they're living in hell. And they're going to say, oh, I was able to change because I have this gift inside of me. See, they go back to that fantasy world. I have this, I'm the chosen one. So I'm able to change, but that person, they're not going to change, trust me. Even though that person is just like them, another version of them, they'll say, "Oh, that person won't change." They'll go because it's all about making themselves look good. It's they go back to themselves, you know. So a lot of narcissists will go to church, will go and you know, speak positively into other people's lives, and that's why you'll always see them that they'll have a lot of friends, and that's because they're giving people advice. They're seeming like very strong people, and they'll tell people, "Oh, I trust me. I learned from my lessons. You know, these are things that I went through." Not completely taking accountability for what they've done because they don't feel bad about it. They just look at it like, oh, it's just a memory. It's just bad choices, things I did to people, and I know I can't survive in this world doing that. I can't survive in this world being in that fantasy land. But you'll see that in conversations, they'll drift back off into that fantasy land because when you're trying to explain something to them, they're only taking bits and pieces because they're not interested in what you have to say, you know, because even if you are educated, they still feel like they're smarter than you. They're having conversations in their head, even if they learn how to adjust their behaviors because it gets them into trouble and they dig themselves in a deeper hole. Even if they learn how, there's going to be moments where you're not going to be able to come to an understanding with this person because they feel like they're right and you're wrong. You know, you got to look at it like this, right? If you're in the military and you go to boot camp, and let's say everyone's doing push-ups, and then there's that one person, the narcissist. They came to the military. They wanted to wear the nice clothes. They wanted to tell people they went to the military. They wanted to take pictures. They wanted to look like they had something going on because they're trying to attract supply. Just like the Jezebel spirit. She goes to places. She's just looking for supply. She doesn't care where she's at. She just wants to be around someone, around a place where there's constant traffic coming, constant supply, just like the internet, but in real life, right? The Jezebel spirit does this too. So if you're in the military and there's that one person who's not doing push-ups, guess what? Everyone else has to pay for it, right? Everyone else has to pay for it. Now they're telling everyone, you guys are going to have to do 20 more push-ups because this person, they don't want to do their push-ups. They're giving up. They're weak. You know, it's seen as weakness, right? The narcissist, when they break rules, it's weakness. They're trying to get away with stuff. They're stealing at their jobs. They're stealing from people. They're conning people. They're doing, it's considered as a weakness to someone who's an honest person because the narcissist thinks that everyone is just greedy, and that's why they act in a way where it's like they're super duper greedy, right? But there's rules to it. There's rules out here. The narcissist doesn't want to follow the rules because in business, someone's not going to want to do, you're going to make more business if you keep good relationships, even though hey, if the narcissist feels like, hey, those people for themselves, I'm for myself too, you still have to learn how to work with people, because guess what? If you ruin this business deal by stealing, you'll never have this customer again, you know? So you're going to get more out of treating people with kindness. Even if you're not in love with someone, you can keep people around as friends. Even if someone's not perfect, people are always going to do things, like I've said many times, that a lot of people are going to do things that are just going to rub you the wrong way. It's about not taking things personal, and about forming healthy relationships where you don't become consumed with that person's life and who they are, and just consumed with the betrayal, or just depending on what they're doing, right? Because certain people you just don't want to be around. But if it's just, you have to, when someone does something, you have to think about it. Is this just business? Even in relationships, friendships, did they mean to do this, or it's just business that they have to pick their family member? They're loyal to their family. It's just business. There's rules. The narcissist doesn't care about that. They'll betray their mother. They'll steal from their parents. They'll betray their siblings. They'll lock their siblings up in jail. They don't have no rules, and they'll feel like you deserved it and they didn't. That's the type of people they are. So if you're in the military and that one person doesn't want to do push-ups and everyone has to pay for it, has to pay for it. Guess what? Everyone's gonna be mad at you now. So guess what's gonna happen when you go back to your bunk beds at nighttime? Right in front of the sergeant. They're not gonna say anything. Because they don't want to get in trouble. So this is why a lot of times people won't stand up for you, because to them it's considered breaking the rules, because now I'm gonna get myself in trouble, right? But the narcissist lives in a fantasy world where you don't think about these things. You start living carelessly, just like the narcissist, and then you become trauma bonded to them, and you're just going from one trauma to another, and you guys are just building a trail of trauma, living in a fantasy world, because they don't want you to go. See, they knew you were living in the real world, and it was them who was living in the fantasy world. That's why they chose you. Once you're in that fantasy world, to them it's like it's going to be hard for you to get out of it. And even if you try to go to the real world, you're going to have to force yourself to live in a fantasy to be able to go back into it. Because while you were in it, and you were in that military, and you were doing everything, and you were running and doing push-ups, you were at your strongest. But if I'm able to defeat you mentally, now when you're being yelled at in boot camp, you're going to break, and then everyone's going to be mad at you because you're breaking. And then you're going to get in trouble just like I did. That's how the narcissist views things. And this is why you can't listen to people like them, because they're living in a fantasy world. So, the narcissist knows everyone's going to be mad at me, but I don't care, because it gives them attention. It's like, to them, it's like, I don't know any of you guys' names. You just went to boot camp. They're looking at it like, I don't know none of you guys' name, but all of you guys know my name. You guys know my name, It gives, and then they feel like they're they don't care if they're the villain, they're the hero. They'll feel like they're the hero, because they'll feel like, I know you guys are trying to villainize me, but you guys secretly want to be my friend. They go into this fantasy world, just like women, Jezebels. They're attractive, but their attitude is nasty. And if you're a real man who cannot be deceived by the Jezebel spirit, she's going to think you're lying when you're telling her the truth. When you're telling her, hey, you have to learn to listen. You're not listening to what I'm saying. She's going to keep smirking at you. She's going to keep flossing her body, smiling at you, showing those pearly whites, twirling her hair. And to her, it's like, I am the prize. What are you talking about? Anyone else would want to be with me. Just like the narcissist. Sometimes these people, you know, aren't attractive, but they still feel like they're the prize. They're living in a fantasy world. Certain narcissists don't get that help anymore. Certain narcissists let themselves go. They destroy themselves. They even drink themselves to death to where they just look bad. And now they're not that handsome man anymore. That handsome young man is not getting any opportunities because they've been living in that fantasy world and they've dragged empaths with them as well. And now even the empaths aren't being trusted, and they almost feel like they're bound to the narcissist, like they're in prison with the narcissist in a spiritual realm, because now they have to survive the same way the narcissist survives. And a lot of times that person is so low and they'll take you lower, and then it's like, how low can you go? Because you're dealing with someone who's in a fantasy world. They don't care how low you can go. They can argue with you all day and night until you get exhausted, keep you up all night. And these are the type of people that will drag you to homelessness, and then you'll be homeless asking for change. And then you know, the narcissist will rob you because they feel like, hey, you were able to get more money in these streets than me as a woman, than me. When I ask for money, they automatically think I'm a use it on beer or something. But because you're a woman, they still have that hate in their heart, and they're still living in a fantasy world where, guess what, the person you're dealing with, they're just as hungry as you are. But the narcissist will take that and go eat by themselves and enjoy their meal and be happy and feel like they're a millionaire while they're doing it looking dirty as hell, you know. So, because the narcissist lives in a fantasy world, they do not want to follow the rules, and then they get you to not follow rules, or they get you to move. They get you to move real dumb in these streets, and just in this world. You know, they get you to make the wrong choice every time. Everything you're supposed to do, you're going to do the opposite, because that's what they have built and implanted in you as they got with you and got you to feed into their fantasy. And then you stop taking care of yourself. You stop taking care of your health, your mind, your reputation. You start not caring about anything. You stop caring about rules. The narcissist starts to point out society to you, and you're like, you stress yourself out. The narcissist puts that anxiety on you. The narcissist is like, you know, see, if we're in boot camp, you know, we're not supposed to be. I didn't even sign up for boot camp, and they're making me do push-ups when I don't want to. We shouldn't have to do it if we didn't volunteer to be in boot camp. But it's only going to hurt them in the long run for being in the fantasy world and not living in reality. Because guess what? Those other people, they don't want to be in boot camp either. They don't want to do those push-ups either. But they're going to do it because they don't want to dig themselves in a deeper hole. They're going to do those push-ups. They're going to stay consistent. And the narcissist will sit there and make fun of them for being consistent, no matter what job you have or what you're doing, or business, or goal or dream that you're doing. The narcissist hates people that dream. The narcissist hates people that are just happy to live. Or the narcissist hates people that you might not want to live, but you're still going. You're still going. You know you can't stop. You know you have people depending on you. The narcissist has gave up. They said, fuck that. I don't want no one depending on me. Fuck them kids. Fuck your mom. Fuck my mom. Fuck everybody. I'd rather be in this fantasy world and just live off people and do what I can until my dreams happen. Especially if you're dealing with someone who's an artist or someone who has like a side hustle or something. They're going to want to use people and have this fantasy of blowing up. Like, I want to blow up. I'm going to go viral. And then if they get any views, anybody paying attention to them for their bad behavior, they feel like, why should I change? It's getting me attention. Why should I dress differently? Dressing like this is getting me attention from men. You know, they're not thinking of the rules in this game, meaning that, hey, okay, you want to be an OnlyFans model, you want to go do all this, guess what? You're going to have predators. And when something happens to you, or, you know, it's not, you already know that's part of the game, and you just, you know, and then you have people that are grieving, but they weren't grieving when that person was giving them money and paying for everything, because you have a friend that was making fast money. This is why a lot of real people who have been through it, they just kind of lay low and let everyone else play around. They let the narcissist play, and they let the people who feed into the narcissist get played, because it's like, I'm not willing to dig myself in a deeper hole when, if I stop doing these push-ups, I'm going to get myself in trouble. I'm going to have to pay for it, you know? So this is what really sucks about society, is that there's a lot of narcissism, you know, and then the people, those narcissists that just completely all the way fall off and give up, they're roaming around on the street, breaking into people's houses, stealing people's stuff. They're taking from those who don't want to do push-ups, you don't want to do this. You feel exactly like them, but you're not willing to let yourself go in this deep hole where now you're going to be forced to do bad things to others. You're staying strong and living in the real world because you don't want to hurt nobody, because you don't want to con anybody, you don't want to fraud anybody. But the narcissist does not live in the real world. They live in a fantasy world. And in the fantasy world, everything goes. And that's why when they come across people who are not living in the fantasy world, they're not going to mess with you as much. They're still going to mess with you because energy is energy. And if they can get energy out of you, it's just like, to them, it's like, I might catch you slipping, you know? But to them, it's easier, or it's more fun to take energy from someone who doesn't even appreciate how much energy they have, who really don't understand that the fantasy world is not what it seems like. It's an energy draining subject, whether it's a person, a place, or a thing. It's draining you. The music, it's draining you. The fantasy world, the kiki, the, you know, we're having fun, or we're just, you know, living carefree, spontaneous, or, you know, just interacting with people just to get clout, energy, or, you know, just to not feel alone. Going into that fantasy world, it's dangerous because not everyone is playing with you. And some of those people who are in that fantasy world, they don't even look at you like a real person. They don't even look at you like you're real. And when you come back to reality from that fantasy world, you're going to have to pay the price for being in that fantasy world. So, you know, I'm sending you guys lots of love, light, peace, in your healing. If you guys enjoyed this topic, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe if you guys are new. And if you guys want to support my channel by booking a session, my booking information will be on the description. Just give me about 24 hours to respond to you, and I'll talk to you guys on the next one. Bye.